Let's take a look at some information and charts on Dogecoin for Brave New Coin. So Dogecoin's a proof of work coin, meaning I can basically purely look at all of the metrics. That's the beauty of proof of work coins. We have robust, basically a decade of figuring out how we can look at proof of work coins versus some of this newer DeFi stuff that's hard to evaluate, right? Like it's hard to know what the value of anything in crypto is, but it's harder to know DeFi stuff just because it's not been here as long, and it was airdropped last year. Most of DeFi is like less than 6 months old, realistically. So anyway, Doge hash rate difficulty. It's merge mined with Litecoin. It is a script coin. Merge mining means that miners get the block reward for Doge and LTC at the same time. They secure both networks. This was an initiative put forth by Charlie Lee many years ago, the creator of Litecoin. Had he not done so, Doge would probably not be here today because it would have collapsed like many of the older proof of work coins. I mean, most of these proof of work coins from like 2016 or prior basically died in the dark. We can look at BTC. Does it even have a? Yeah, I mean, this is what you typically see with, I don't know if this is an error or they changed the algorithm or they just don't exist anymore. I have no idea. Vertcoin, it's probably still traded on Poloniex. But the point is, if something isn't done to secure coins that don't have any block reward, basically, a notional value, like you can't recoup the ROI here, unless this is incorrect, which it very well could be. I don't know. Oh, looks like there is some mining. They did something here. This isn't normal, so they adjusted the network. Anyway, point is, if there's no block reward to support, the subsidy for mining, then people aren't going to mine. People mine because there's a reward, not because they necessarily love the network, right? Everybody's not just hunky-dory trying to make BTC the next secure financial system. The miners are here because they can make a ton of money. And Doge was no different, LTC no different. So Doge exists really because of Charlie Lee today more than anything. If we look at the total nodes, still around 1,400 nodes, most of those in the US. If we look at the breakdown, I always like to look at this. Are these nodes like upgraded fully? Do they have the latest version? How many versions are there? It looks like most of them are fully upgraded or close to fully upgraded. So either these are cloud hosted, most of them. Whenever you see, if there's an upgrade and 5 hours later, most of the nodes have upgraded, typically that indicates some sort of cloud hosting where it's just automatic. Because for the most part, I've had Bitcoin nodes and I don't update them when the updates come out, right? I do it when I remember. So maybe just anecdotal, but looks like most of these nodes are upgraded, which is good. If there's a security issue, centralization issues, you don't want diverse types in the node counts because that just leads to exploits later on. A little thing that nobody ever cares about or talks about or pays attention to, but something worth looking at from time to time. Here are the script ASICs at 4 cents per kilowatt hour, which is what Chinese miners were getting. I'm not sure what average miners get other than China, outside of China. I assume it's near 4 or less. For some places it's 0. For some places, I heard a miner in Texas tell me that they get paid to take electricity off the grid. So whether that's true or not, I don't know. But, their cost is obviously not a cost at all at that point. But most people on average who are mining in a serious way are around 4 cents per kilowatt hour. And there's 2 newer ASICs coming for script. This one is like uber late cycle as far as Bitmain is concerned. Doge might be 0 by November. So good luck to recouping the ROI on that. But they're still massively profitable right now. This is the funnier one that Gold Shell is releasing. This one may actually never have an ROI if profitability is $2 a day right now. What I don't know for this website is if they include both LTC and Doge in their profitability calculation, or if they just include Doge, whatever. I just don't know. So that'd be important to find out. Because if Doge isn't included, these profitability numbers go up considerably. Looking at inflation across everything that makes the world go round from a proof of work perspective, ETH 4%, Doge 3.8, LTC 3.5, BTC and Monero around 1.4 to 1.5. The big point is here, when we talk about annual inflation or daily issuance, that inflation needs to be absorbed, assuming that miners are selling every penny that they make, right? Which for altcoins is probably truer than maybe BTC and an ETH. But when I look at charts like this, which is Doge in the green here, this is Coinbase issuance per day, which I believe on Coinmetrics means this is the block reward per day. Doge is still mining 4 million notional per day, 3.85. LTC slightly under a million per day. At the peak, they were mining almost 9.5 million per day on Doge. And again, assuming this is all selling pressure, there needs to be equal buying or greater to hold price or make it higher, right? So even if these miners were holding, even if they weren't selling at the top, if they're holding, there's even more selling pressure coming because they're eventually going to sell, right? So hopefully most of these guys were selling at the top and realized that they needed to make hay while the sun is shining. But I'm guessing not all of them did. Anyway, point is, there's a lot of money that needs to be purchased in the ecosystem on the Doge side of things to keep the shark swimming. Here's transaction counts, which kind of ever since January and Robinhood took off, they've been all over the place for Doge. In general, Robinhood, I don't believe, has many on-chain transactions in aggregate compared to exchanges for, native crypto exchanges, right? This to me looks like there's a ton of transactions like every month or something. What is this? February 3rd, March 10th, April 20th, May 10th. So it's almost every month. Typically when you see spikes, predictable spikes like that, there is something going on behind the scenes. As far as reward distributions or splitting of wallets, there's typically something going on here. But point is, transactions are way down, obviously, since the peak. And the average transaction values also way down. These went up considerably with price. This probably represented a bunch of people selling who had been holding or who had bought earlier, but all that's way down now. Transactions effectively hit a new multi-year high in April and have been down basically to multi-month lows now, multi-year lows, right? Like they're what, 23K? So basically a 2019 low or October 2018 low. So very little on-chain activity relative to price action here, which is another way of saying bearish on that as well. Active addresses, look at this brutality here in active addresses. From 141,000 a day to under 65,000 a day. Just a massive swing. Now, Robinhood's going to affect that as well if they're on-chain at all, but that is not what you want to see. If you're bullish, NVT is surprisingly bullish in that it's kind of near all-time lows. So I don't know what to think about that. That's kind of weird. NVT says how much is moving relative to market cap, kind of like MVRV. And you want this to be as low as possible to be bullish. And it's kind of never been this low, but there's never really been this much on-chain activity for Doge in general. So it's a bit weird there. I don't know what to think, but everything else is definitely bearish. If you look at MVRV versus price in the line here, MVRV in the fill, and this looks at market cap versus on-chain activity. So at a 3x multiple, historically that has been the high in the market price-wise, in that if 3 times the market cap moves on-chain, or if the market cap is 3 times on-chain activity rather, that has been the top in 2017 twice. And really that was the all-time high until this year when we hit 3.5 and we hit 4. We hit 4 twice. So the market cap was 4 times the on-chain activity, which is another way of saying this is way too overheated. This is overbought. There's little economic evidence for market cap to be where it is, basically, especially relatively when you look at where MVRV has been 2014, 2015, 2016, 2019, even in 2020, right? So it was definitely time. Here's maybe the scariest chart in crypto. This is Doge on the weekly linear scale. This looks like it wants definitely lower than 10, probably around 5 cents, but potentially less than a penny, right? Like this is the history of Doge. It's lived here and it's here. So, I'm not holding this. I didn't short this. I traded it very little on the way up, but at some point, anybody who's been holding since sub 10 cents, which is the majority of people, has to be getting nervous, right? Now they're only up a 2x. They were up a 7x from 10 cents, right? They're still up 4x from 5 cents. They were up over 10x from 5 cents, you know. And anybody who got in late, you know, they're underwater. So we're going to start to see more and more of this across the board in crypto, where anybody who got in April, May, June is going to get more and more underwater and eventually going to capitulate. So this chart looks extremely bearish. Here's the 50 and the 200 on the daily. We're just now hitting the 200-day moving average on Doge. Monthly pivot is basically 9.5 cents. And what you really want to see is a bear div down here, a bull div down here to mark some sort of low. Previously, we were getting highs and we were getting higher highs in RSI. Then we consolidated. Then we got a series of highs and we didn't get higher highs in RSI. So that was the first sign of trouble. And so now on the way down, I'd really want to see a bullish divergence, probably into this monthly pivot at around 10 cents. You know, this may take some more time, but the quicker this goes, the better as far as marking a significant bottom. Basically, you just need everybody to capitulate, or people are just going to continue to bleed this dry. Miners are going to continue to sell. If I was a miner, I'd be selling everything every second of every day I was getting at this point, because this may be like a generational top for Doge, right place, right time sort of situation. Let's say this is a head and shoulders, which I don't care if you think it is or not. Let's just pretend it is, right? The 1618 is at 2 cents. If we look at VPVR on Binance, there's really nothing until 8 cents, more significant volume at 5 cents. So all this volume, anybody who's bought up here has to be getting nervous, right? And just another way of saying there's going to be selling pressure continuously, I think. Here's 12-hour cloud. It told you to get out basically May 17th when this TK cross flipped to bearish, and it's just been bleeding ever since. And for alts, ETH included, you do typically see this parabolic downside, and it almost looks like we're getting close to just this straight spike down, right? The sooner that happens, the better, right? This does not look bullish in any way I can measure it. Tons of retail interest, tons of bag holders, tons of community members. This is the 4-hour. There's still not even a bull div on the 4-hour on RSI. Volume has not even picked up really that much on Polo. Even on Binance, volume is very low on the 4-hour relative to where it was when it first got here in late April. So I would definitely be watching for a capitulation wick of something coming soon to a Doge chart near you. Here's Doge-BTC on the weekly. Again, this has lived between 0 and 100 sats. It's currently 666 sats. It's got to go lower, right? Like, it's got to go lower. Massive bear div on this at the top. It's not even below 50 on the RSI weekly yet. I just don't know how this recovers up here without massive capitulation to the downside. So not bullish there. Here's Doge ETH, which nobody probably looks at, but also massively at highs here with like a 95% downside to get back to even the breakout that it had a few months ago and the January breakout, right? This is the January breakout is probably the 95% downside, but you know, are you more bullish on Doge than ETH over the next 6 months, considering both are in trouble here? I'll leave that for you to decide, but overall, regardless of what Elon has to say or what he's trying to do in any way, shape, or form, there's just no way that I would consider anything on Doge bullish right now. Lastly, I just want to mention the ETH-BTC fund and the DeFi portfolio for Techemy Capital that I trade on Enzyme.finance. You can send ETH or USDC into the smart contract, and you can see AUM performance, allocations. You can see everything I'm doing. You can see all the trades I'm taking. You can see people depositing and withdrawing. So it's not like it's a Roach Motel. And clearly very volatile over the past few weeks, getting chopped up pretty significantly over the past 2 weeks on BTC and ETH fund and the DeFi portfolio. Today I just had to get rid of whatever we had left basically because DeFi looks uber ultra wrecked. The main caps are ready for a significant drawdown. I think everything's ready for 50% drop from here at this point if this support can't hold. So that's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know how bullish you are on Doge or not, and happy trading.